I'm going to be talking about content as it can apply to a startup, because one of the things that you're probably going to have a very big problem with, aside from how do I build an MVP, what do I build, is how do I get people to give a shit about what I'm doing. That's going to be a fundamental problem, because all of you will technically be able to build lots of things, but how do you make people care? That's a big problem. So, I only have about 30 minutes at most, and this presentation could probably go an hour and a half. So I'm going to run through some stuff. If you have questions, let's wait until the pizza's, and then you can harass me if you want, and you can email me later. So, just briefly about me. In 1994, I started with America Online. To me, it was a fucking revelation, because all of a sudden, I could talk to people that had similar interests. I could filter them in chat rooms. It was amazing. All of a sudden, I was connected to people where if they liked a particular hobby, if they liked a particular whatever, all of a sudden, you can talk to the people that you wanted to talk to. You didn't have to go and spend countless amounts of who knows what, just bumping along through life, talking to people who were meaningless to you. All of a sudden, if you liked knitting, if you liked cars, if you liked food, there was a chat room of a bunch of freaks that liked the same thing. To me, that was a revelation that I think shaped a lot of the person that I am today. So, in 2010, I started building a YouTube channel where I teach people what I know about sewing and pattern drafting. Today it's grown to over 3 million views and about close to 30,000 subscribers. So that's been a whole learning experience unto itself. And in 2012 we started a podcast for an association that's been featured on the iTunes store. And the amount of very hardcore fans that you can get through a long-form audio podcast by having people listen to you for hours on end, you can't buy advertising like that. When I would go meet these people afterwards, whenever we were in events, they come up to you like they know you. They come up to you like you're their friend. They talk to you like they've been listening to you for hours, which they have. You just don't know that. So this was another intense experience that really leads to discovering that there's a lot of people out there that need something to care about. So all of you are building things that technically are great. You just have to find out how you can make people care about it so they will want to follow you from your initial process of launching a dog shit MVP to following you along this process of improving. You want these people with you. They're going to be like your family. So we need to create content around that. Right now I work for a company that in the past 6 months I've taken it from, on their Facebook, from 79 comments to over 3,000, and from 300 shares to over 6,000 shares. This has meant a shit ton of sales. Sales have been going really good. And it's just through Facebook engagement. That's it. We're not doing anything different. We're not creating pieces of content that cost hundreds of thousands at all. At most, we might be taking a couple pictures, or even just repurposing content that we've already had. This is not hard to do. I'm gonna see if I can go through the theory rather quick, because then I'll go into examples of pieces of content that I built for them, just for Facebook, because I think that's one of the platforms that you should really focus on to gather your community. So, everything starts and ends with the customer. You're not working for yourself. You're working for someone else. You're just the person who happens to have an inspiration to go about building something. But everything will always start and end with the customer. Because if this person doesn't give you money, you don't have shit. So you better take them serious. You better love them. You better enjoy spending time with them. You better enjoy caring for them. Because they are your end all. If they don't like you, your bank account is zero. It's basic, baseline knowledge. So, everything starts and ends with them. So, all of your decisions for everything that you're going to do, think about it from the point of view of the customer. What would this person want to engage with? Would they want to engage with this type of MVP? Would they want to engage with this type of Facebook content? What do they want to engage with? Because it's not about you. You're just a person creating, let's say, by the hand of God. But they're the ones that are going to give you all that energy you need. And money is energy. You don't have no money? You have shit. So, this is my favorite brand. They're not perfect by any means, but after you know it's for somebody, your message anchors an emotion. That emotion, you never fuck with. If you are about making people happy, all of your content has to have that same anchor. You don't stray, because you need to be relevant. Okay? So, an emotion anchors your brand. And Nike, whenever you think of Nike, you automatically, you can almost even smell the brand. It's that hardcore. So, they're basically all about helping you reach that higher internal vision that you have of yourself. They allow you, they give you the ability to buy all these sports equipment, beautiful shoes, expensive shirts, and you might probably never even sweat. But just being in it makes you feel like you're doing something. So the message, you need to anchor a particular emotion, and you need to drive that emotion. As Carmen said, with the pain, you need to make them feel that pain. You need to drive that emotion through the person's eyeballs, retinas, brain, heart, stomach. They need to feel it. And they need to associate you with something very clear. Goals. There's a bunch of different goals. Each one has a particular story. These are vanity metrics. These don't fucking matter. You don't sell shit when you have these. You have nothing here. Okay? Focus on this. How can I create content that gets me sales? Or at least leads. Likes and follows are not leads. They're just ghosts. They're just ghosts that amplify a number. That number does not matter. Minimum viable content. Before you start, you give me this excuse of, holy shit, I need a camera, I need a production. No, you don't. Selfies are creating business opportunities for people on Instagram that you can't even imagine. I search for these people on Instagram, and I find them, and we build partnerships with them, and we develop really, really intense human relationships with them. Because if we can get them to sell our product, they can make money, we make money, everybody's happy, they keep taking their selfies, they're happy doing what they're doing, and we keep growing. So they do it like this. They do it like this. It's that simple. So minimum viable content is, what's the minimum that I can do just to project this emotion? You don't need to have a production studio in Hollywood to record a video of yourself saying, holy shit, we fucked up, we're fixing it, I'm sorry, if you have a comment, leave it below. You could do that. People like that. Because people are engaging with very human brands now. This isn't an automated, let's get the Basad Ogilvy marketing team to create a campaign to say we're sorry. No, you just turn on your phone, say you're sorry, and people will love you for it. It's weird, but they'll love you for it. So, when you have no idea of what content to build, this is the content you build. People go through this particular cycle online for everything that you're going to sell. All of these steps have questions. Figure out those questions, answer them through beautiful content, keep it simple, that's your content strategy, infuse it with your particular emotion. You don't need more than that. Each one of these has questions. Answer those questions, these people will find you. A little oversimplified, but that's the idea. Okay? Calendar. You should not be thinking about content. You should be executing content. You should spend 1 week, maybe, thinking about content, filling in this calendar, and making sure that for the next year, you're not thinking, you're just executing. You know that on June, whatever it is, 15th, there's Father's Day. So I should be building in April Father's Day content. This calendar will save your asses because you don't have to think. Because you got other shit to think about. Because you're a team of one, maybe two. Figure this out in a week, and just execute over time very simple pieces, and concentrate on validating and getting sales. But this is crucial. This will help you a lot. So develop a content calendar. Medium. Right now, pictures are what's moving everything. Beautiful picture gets you a share. That's why all these stupid cats, and I like cats, get shares. Because they're cute. They target an emotion, and you share. Video, very simple to use. If anybody here is trying to get ranked on Google, good fucking luck. Okay? You have to have a shit ton of money. But YouTube is a back door. And it's not too hard. So there's a lot of possibilities of creating really, really interesting video content that will get you ranked for certain keywords and key terms, more likely key phrases that are relevant to your startup that might lead you, maybe not to sales, but to leads. To qualified leads, because you're competing in a relevant phrase. Audio, I'm a big fan of podcasts. I really recommend it because once you start getting a user base that is really into what you're proposing on building, and this means that they don't have to be customers, this could be pre-product customer development. If they start listening to you, you can begin indoctrinating them into your philosophies, your theories, your company, everything that you stand for. And there's no better way than accompanying someone on a 1-hour run, because you really drive home a message there. And it's very simple to produce. Text, I hate writing, but find somebody who does it, that if you don't enjoy it, but text, yes. Channel. Face-to-face is a channel to deliver content, okay? So, meetups, events, all of these things will set you apart from the competition. One of the easiest, hardest ways to gather a group of people that you want to sell some shit to, produce an event for them. Gather them. Give them a physical excuse to go participate into something, and you have all their emails, and you have them there, and you can harass them all you want. Because you own them for that particular amount of time. Facebook is practically God. YouTube is his right-hand man. And all this other shit is cute, but you probably don't need to do it right now. I would suggest Facebook, like absolutely without a doubt, and maybe YouTube, okay? Distribution, how am I going with time? Am I right? Okay. Distribution, these are the ways that you're gonna find people to push out your content. This is just like vanity metrics. It's a fucking illusion. So if you reach viral or mass media, awesome. But try and go for blogs and influencers, friends and community, but here, you need to get to these people. We'll look at all that later. All right, too long didn't read. These massive posts, they get glanced over, you invested hours of your life, nobody's fucking reading it. Make a video, keep it at 2 to 3 minutes, because what you need to do is be prolific. Yeah, be prolific. So, too long didn't read, keep it short. Batching. Instead of doing one piece a day, hunker down on a Saturday or Sunday, produce 5 or 6 or 10 or 20 pieces, however much you can, and dole it out over a month or a week or however you have to. Republish. Just because you published it once doesn't mean you can't publish it again. You can repurpose it, you can reformat it, you can make it shorter, longer, add pictures, take away, republish. Curating. This is going to save your asses because you begin to use other people's content. So it's so important that we give it a particular little section. This is my workflow for curated content. Very simple. I use Feedly. I follow a bunch of blogs that are relevant to my customer. Okay? Relevant to my customer. Relevant to my customer. This is not about what you like. This is about what they like. So, in this example for yoga, I found that because the company that I'm working for right now deals in yoga products and services and a whole bunch of shit, This community also really enjoys food. Vegan food, vegetarian food, fucking all types of weird shit. So I follow those blogs as well. So I have a list of blogs that I follow. I have them all here. I go through, and then you have also another tool called BuzzSumo, which will give you, depending on key term, it'll list the top shared pieces of content for the week, the month, so on and so forth. You can figure out what to share by looking here. So, after I find content, I open them all up in tabs, I look through, make sure it's relevant, make sure it's quality, make sure it's something that I want to represent the brand, because not all content do you want to push out to your community. Just because it's food related doesn't mean you should put your stamp of approval on it. So review it. It doesn't mean you have to read it. Just review it, make sure it's not bullshit. And then I go into, I use Proud Social, basically, because that's what I do. So I go in and program. What this does, it allows me to program, automatically send this out every X hours every day. And there's also buffer as well. So I do that. So during 1 hour, I go through hundreds of blog entries. I probably in 1 hour schedule out content for a week for Facebook. So it's automatically getting published out in 1 hour. Okay? Now, pieces of content. Think about larger pieces of content as opportunities to create something unique. So, for example, here you have an online summit. What you can do for whatever it is you want to do, get 4 or 5 experts. Say, hey, I want to do a free summit for people who like this thing. Get them all together. You can pre-record some interviews, put them in a landing page. You can do some type of squeeze form, get them all the way down there, take their emails, give them the content. You have leads. Okay? Then you have stuff to sell. You can share the leads with your collaborators, and that's a way that you can begin leveraging also influencers in your space. Hey, influencers, let's do an online summit. Let's create, like, you talk about how to this, you how to that, and we start pushing it out. Moz has a beautiful guide to SEO. That's a huge piece of content that drives a shit ton of traffic and tons of links to them. You have interactive infographics, which if you like to code and program, this is your shit right here, because you find data and you make it look awesome, and if your little mouse can hover over it and things happen, people like that shit and they engage and they share, which is the most important thing. Will it blend? This, probably some of you might have heard of it. It's a company that makes blenders, which for $50 created, hey, let's take a blender, throw an iPhone in it, or they actually started off with golf balls. They throw golf balls in it, our blender fucks them up, and people view this on YouTube and they share it because it's a novelty. That's it. You could, I mean, it's easy for them because they have a very visual and sensory product, but you can also figure out what you can do with video. I'm gonna wait for Caitlin to take her picture. No? Okay. So, and then you can also create a fucking amazing blog. These Basecamp people have an entrepreneurship blog that drives tons of traffic to them of entrepreneurs, and hey, we just happen to have a tool for entrepreneurs. So maybe you'd like to use it. Their content doesn't talk about their tool. Their content talks about relevant things to the community that will eventually use their product. And if you're stuck for ideas, go to Pinterest and search. You don't know what to create for an infographic? Type in infographic, and you'll see the shit that's getting most shared. It'll save you time. You have to hack through this because you don't have time to be creative. You need to have a structure to just pump out content because this is about volume. This isn't about, hey, 1 post a day. Fuck that. If I could post 30 times a day, I would. There's just not enough really quality content to do that. Also, customize stuff. So, for example, you could just copy and paste the link from a site, which you'll probably get a share image like this, or you can create your own share image and really make something that pops. Because right now, everybody's searching, all the traffic on Facebook mostly is coming from mobile. So in mobile traffic, if that image isn't engaging, they're gonna scan right by it. And whatever you wanted to promote has just fallen into ether. Nobody cares. Competitors, look at what they're doing. look at what they're doing, scroll down their feeds, look at what has gotten the most engagement, and copy it. If they created it, don't be afraid to even republish their stuff. Because what you want is engagement, and you want traffic. It's your job afterwards to lead them down the funnel, back to your site, opt-ins, and a whole bunch of other stuff. But your competitors are a really good place to really get some ideas for what works. Landing pages, always drive people back to your site. Don't just publish stuff to publish stuff. Just curated content is something that is kind of like fodder. It's like you just throw stuff out, so there's stuff being published and the brand is in front of people's eyes. But whenever you create something original, always send them back somewhere to your page. Because the idea is not to build a Facebook fan page, the idea is to get traffic to your site wherever people can pay you for something. So, measure. If you're not measuring, you have no idea what's working. So, measure everything. Be a lunatic about measuring. Because if you measure, you know what works. And if you know what works, you can repeat that and do more of that. Because it's not about being creative. We don't want to be creative. We want to do things that get engagement. And do that as much as possible, as frequently as possible. Participate in conversation. So basically, you're going to spark up conversations. Talk to people. Let them know that you're there. Don't just put up content, get comments, and disappear. Engage with them. Pay to play. You can also promote your posts. Now, how much time do we have? 5? Okay. I'm going to quickly run through some stuff that I've done for this company that has worked pretty well. First thing, your cover image for your Facebook fan page, pimp that shit out. Make it look beautiful. Because when I get there, I'm not going to keep coming back to this. I'm going to get here probably once, and everything, if I hit the like, I'm going to engage with it in my feed. I'm not really going to go back here. But if I land here, and there is no cover image, or there is one that has been, like, the minimum effort put into it, it's a put-off. It's a put-off. It's like walking into a store and seeing all the shit going on the ground. You don't want to be there. So, pay somebody to create a few of these that are pretty, that look good. So, pieces of content. You can create one piece of content that you have on your website. So this pose edugographic thing lives on the website. I've shared it twice. You share it once where you create a custom little image, and then you can republish it again where you publish the whole thing. You have a series of these. We batch them. This took probably, we already have the images, this took probably 10 minutes to make. Very simple. Very, very simple to make. And, man, I can't even read what this says anymore. But, yeah, it's like 50 shares over here, another 50 some odd over here. You can also create very simple lists of things. So, for example, people like food, let's talk about ingredients. Here's a whole page for all the ingredients, and keep it anchored to relevance. These are stuff that's in season in February. The very important thing to take away here is be relevant. There's always things that are seasonal in every business. In every business. Even if you have a startup that deals in entrepreneurship, when the web is going on, you can produce content before the web, you can produce content during the web, and you can produce content after the web. But you can't start that thinking process when the web is going on. So, things always have seasonalities, and you can anchor to the relevance to the month. You can create large series of images with a little bit of educational information, and people like these. They share them. Because one of the things that causes people to share something is if they feel like because they're sharing it, someone else is going to add value to them. So imagine that I found a really cool blog post about entrepreneurship and I shared it with you guys. Well, if you like it, then that's going to add value to me. You're going to say, oh hey, this guy shared something relevant to me. I like that. And you might even follow me or fan me or whatever. So this is the same thing. Create images that will encourage people to share them because It's going to add value to them, to their communities. Because in the end, you don't want the person that's already a fan. You want the person that follows them, that's their friend, that's in their circle. If you write articles, don't just copy and paste a link. Create a custom image that looks awesome. Always put your link on there in case it gets shared, God knows where, and drive people back. We tested doing some custom URLs through some Google Analytics thing, but they look dog shit ugly, so we scratched that. You can also, if you create video, for example, we had a bunch of videos that were all for different yoga poses and shit, and you create one infographic, you put just relevant points of this video's for this, you put that on your site, drive traffic there, people engage, time on site goes up because they start watching your videos there. Ask questions. Ask them questions in a very unique manner. Don't just add a status update. That's boring. Create a graphic that represents your company, that drives in that emotion that you're trying to anchor, and ask a question that really intrigues them. Quotes. You know, I frankly hate quotes, but they work. They work. So find inspirational quotes, add a background image that also looks inspirational, and you have shit that people will share. So that's it. Relevant days. You know, not too long ago was the something day of happiness. Create a little image, and 95 shares. While this image isn't relevant to the brand is getting out there. Partnerships. If you start building a fan page, you have an asset that you can leverage to reach out to other people with other relevant communities that you'll be interested in. So say, hey, we'll share you, you eventually share us. That's simple. So if you build it, if you have a community, you can leverage it and use it as an asset. You can also promote stuff. So this post led to several $1,000s in sales of the trapeze thing that we sell. This took maybe 5 minutes to make. We promoted it with $150 once we saw it was engaging. And aside from it got 47,000 people theoretically saw this, but it led to thousands in sales. Each trapeze cost like $116, and I mean, 150 invested. That doesn't mean you should go and put 150 on all your posts. So actually, don't put any money on any of your posts right now. Just work on being prolific first, and work on producing content that begins getting engagement. Because if you have engagement, then you can leverage that. Now, how do you get all this traffic? Because that's the hardest thing. You start doing all this work, but it's for you and yourself and I. So how do you get people to go there? Well, first you get the content, then you get the influencer, then you get the traffic. So, first we have to obviously create content. Once you have content, the more original pieces that you create, you can reach out to people with communities. The next step, we'll look at this. Communities, and hopefully, if you've done a good enough job, if you've approached them in an appropriate enough way, they'll find pity, and they'll share your content to their net. Okay? So, but everything, we started from the bottom, now we're here. This means, don't go, if you have 0 followers, and if your mailing list is 0, don't go to the one who has 600,000 and say, hey, will you share me? Doesn't work like that. If you have 0, go to the one that has 50. Because they're more receptive. Because they don't have a lot of emails coming in. Once you get to 50, go after someone who has 200 or 300. Once you get to 200 or 300, scale up. But don't try and make these quantum leaps of, oh my God, just because I exist, why they should share me. So you have to start at the bottom and just start asking people who just have a little bit more than you. Because you're going to likely fall into grace because they don't have people asking them for anything. We have a community of we have a mailing list of over 60,000 people. The Facebook page has close to like 30-something thousand followers. And nobody's contacting us for co-promotions of anything, which is absolutely insane. Every time that I contact somebody, it's like, hey, we'll email you out to 60,000 people. We'll share you on our Facebook page. And you get mutual collaboration that lead to more sales and growth. So, in honor of Back to the Future, if you do things with passion, if you create content that's relevant to people, you're going to see that shit's going to get serious. Because all of a sudden, you'll begin to have lots of voices chiming in. And the most important thing here is, think about it as, do this now, because you can have pre-product customer development. Before you have a product, if you have just kind of an idea of a market, build a Facebook page. Even if it's not branded for your startup right now, build a Facebook page that's relevant to the general market. Start pumping content into there. Start trying to drive some traffic there, even if it's paid, and beta test the fuck out of it. Because you need to run these experiments also with people. So, if you're running an experiment of a Facebook fan page of X, Y, and Z brand and it has nothing to do with your business, if it becomes relevant and there comes a point where you actually build something that's relevant to these people, then there's overlap and you have the perfect excuse to say, hey, we built this cool thing that you guys are really going to like. You should go check it out. That's it. So, any questions? I went a little slow, I know.
I don't have questions. I just want to share my experience right now. I'm working in digital marketing for some pictures. Have you seen Spider-Man everywhere? I don't know, it's on the buses, on the bus stops, on the internet, on Twitter. And they think Facebook is shit. That's what they said. I'm with you. I think Facebook right now is so powerful that for them it's just Twitter. And they have spent like...
Let me add one thing to that.
Yeah.
You have to be on the platform where your customers are at.
Yes.
The problem is, you have no fucking idea where they're at. So, what I know is that people are on Facebook. If through the course of your MVP and your customer development and your interviews, you start discovering that they're on fucking Reddit, or that they're on God knows where, that's where you go. Because your only mission isn't to build a Facebook page. Your mission is to get sales. So wherever these people are, engage with them there. So they might find that they're relevant there.
Well, but the problem is the film industry. How do you measure the leads?
Excuse me? Say that again?
Yeah, the film industry.
Mm-hmm.
It's if you go to the post office. I mean, if you buy the ticket to go and watch the film. So it's so hard how to measure the leads in that kind of industry.
Oh, well, here's the thing. You know, it's like, you have to figure out what is the correct KPI for that. So, what is the correct indicator that your campaign is, let's say, positive? Let's say successful, quote unquote successful. So, you have no idea how people got to the box office. That's a problem. You have no idea who's watching your ad on TV. That's a problem. But if I drive you to a landing page, and for you to access a special discount or some shit, you have to engage, you have to give me an email, which is very, very low level. Then I know at least how many people I drove there, how many people opted in, and you can kind of make a deduction.
Yeah, it's true. I share the
opinion
with you, but the problem is those kinds of industry is true that they are big and they don't have to try every day something. It's like, no, we don't do newsletters, we don't do this, we don't do that. It's just views in YouTube and followers in Twitter, and that's it. It's the KPIs that they have.
No, I mean, to them, it might make sense, It's like, the way I look at it is, I'm looking at it from my experience. My experience has been scrappy, bootstrapping, I don't have shit, how can I build a community? I built like 2 or 3 communities. The problem is, mass media is like a grandfather who just absolutely does not want to get off the horse and carriage. It's like, but man, there's fucking cars. Drive a car. There's Segways. Get on a Segway. There could be teletransportation, but they still want to be on a horse and carriage because that's what they're comfortable with. So maybe those platforms are providing them some comfort into they can really control it. Maybe that's fit. I don't know. But to me, the position that you're all in, your realities are
It's totally different.
Completely.
Yeah, it's for example, last week
So, basically, to answer your question, I don't know how you.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's just to share an experience. I don't want to ask you anything. For example, last week I launched a website. It's about fashion and fashion bloggers, everything. And I don't have just the visitors of my web page. It's me, my girlfriend, and maybe my mother. Is the way. Now I have to do all the things that you have said to bootstrap and make engagement and all these things.
Yeah, I mean, for example, even Cloud. Even Cloud has a good platform to discover content and push it out. You know, and it's all about pushing out stuff. You have to, because it's like you have to stay top of mind. If you're not top of mind, you don't exist. So you have to stay top of mind and visible every day, all day. Because if not, someone else is.
If someone says that you are spamming them,
you have to be relevant. It's about being relevant.
so
If you
it
find
doesn't matter. Maybe I have a 1% that is saying that it is
relevant. That's everything starts and ends with the person. It's just like Google. Google's success is relevance. They're relevant. They give you what you're looking for. So be relevant. Everything that I push out, in general, gets engaged with because I found that relevance. I found that sweet spot really fast. You know, so sometimes you really have to, and this is part of your customer discovery process. You have to know the personas of these people to get to know it as fast as possible, as deeply as possible, so that you get to know and you get to develop that instinct that when you see a blog post, you're like, this shit I have to share. Just by reading a headline and maybe a couple words. Because that's how well you have to know your audience. Because it's going to save you a ton of time. Because you don't have to read the whole blog. You can't read blog posts. I don't even know why people still write blog posts, because I don't even know who's still reading them. I know they're getting shared, but I don't know who's reading them. For example, we also created about 40 or 50 recipes with a ghostwriter. To get those recipes, we maybe paid like $600, and those recipes will be used for like the whole year. We've used 4 to establish a relationship with a massive blog that has like 150,000 followers on Facebook. So you can do a lot of stuff for real cheap if it looks good. And the recipes that we made, the girl that ghost wrote it took the pictures, and with a little bit of guidance, she improved the pictures well enough to get us on that blog. You know, and I mean, it's all about leveraging. Knowing your community, being relevant, but then leveraging other people's communities. Because if not, I mean, you can try the paid traffic, but it's much easier to create relevant content and then, you know, start growing off of that. Any other questions? No? No?
So no blog post?
A blog. Here's the problem with blogs. You're probably not going to keep it up. So, if you're not going to keep it up, it's going to look really, really bad. It's going to look really bad on you.
Maybe we should put it.
I'm cut. If anybody wants to talk, we can do it at the pizza.